Kia ora tātou, and thank you for coming in today. This was just an opportunity for us to share how we're going to be using Hero as our main source of communication and for reporting and sharing progress and achievement of our students. Hero as a platform is actually new to everybody here, I think. I don't think anybody's used Hero before. So the last sort of term and a half has been a real sort of learning curve for all of us trying to figure out how it works, populating with all our progressions and goals and student information and stuff. So yeah, but we're at a point now where we think we know enough to be able to impart that information to you.
Alright. Yeah, I've used Hero at previous schools, but it's interesting to see what it actually does. Like, I feel like I probably only used it for like the bare minimum of passing on.
Yeah, it's quite a new student management system. What's really good about it is it's actually been designed by principals and
New Zealand principals.
Yeah. So it feels very intuitive in the way that it presents information and all its different uses. It's like, oh, where has this been on my school life?
Yeah, so we use it as teachers for a lot more than we're going to talk about what you guys will use it for. So that's a bit added bonus. But basically, as an overview, it will give you personalised information about your child's progress in reading, writing, and number and algebra or maths. It will show you what goals your child is currently working on, what goals that they have achieved. It will have their next learning steps. It may also have some evidence of your child's learning, so we can attach a photo or a video and attach it to a goal that they are working on or that they have achieved. So that is really lovely. You'll be able to see how your child is progressing through the curriculum phases, and when you go through and get your report, your child's report, it will show you their attendance over the term, and we can also send you our permission slips or notices, so it's got that communication side of it as well.
Love that already.
No permission slips coming in paper.
And as we say here, it's got lots of great features, and over time there'll probably be more of them that we use as well. Yeah.
Okay, so change that slide and not that slide. Okay, so what we've done is we have set up learning pages, and how that works is that they have the learning goals attached to them, and then also the opportunity for teachers to upload posts, which essentially is what Kate was saying before about evidence. So having maybe a photo or a link to a document or a video and some goals attached to it. So the pages that we've set up are a literacy page, so that will be for reading and writing, a mathematics page, class learning pages, which will be sort of generic, and I'll go into that in a minute. A Nukumea Connect page, which is an opportunity for you to upload anything that you do at home, and then we'll have our report page. So what you guys will see at your end will look a little bit like this in a list. And at the moment the learning content's turned off, so you will be able to see those pages as a list, but you won't be able to see any content in it. So a little bit more about the pages. So as we said, the literacy pages will be for teachers to add information about literacy learning, so that will be reading and writing. And also when the reports come out, there'll be a page that will be with a literacy comment sits. So we'll have a literacy comment that will come out twice a year in line with our reporting cycle. A little bit for the same for mathematics. At the moment in mathematics we only have goals for number and algebra. The strategy maths will come in time, it's just a little bit more of a progress. As I said, the class learning pages are going to be something that you should see posts on a more regular basis, and that's just anything outside of literacy and numeracy. So like when the class go for a trip to the stream, they might post some photos of it, a little bit of information. Might be about PE, it might be about some value of, they've done some things around the value. So it's a little bit broader and a little bit wider. And then as I said, the Whānau Connect page, that's an opportunity if you do anything special at home, you have a special occasion or something that you'd like to share back with the class, that's an opportunity for you, the family at home, to upload, and the teachers can see that and share it with the class and
just going offside a little bit, Sarah, I don't know if we're coming to this later, but with the posts, did we want to talk a little bit about that? The parents can register the posts as well?
Oh yeah, that's in the last.
That's coming.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. Thank you. I might just that's you.
Yeah, that's me.
Right.
So basically this is what the goals will look like. So you'll have a dial. The green is goals I've achieved, so the teachers have ticked them off and said they've got that. The buff is a goal we're working on, and then if it's grey it just means that it hasn't been attached yet, so they just haven't covered it yet. So you'll see that it sort of shows different percentages. And each goal dial is attached to a curriculum phase, and we'll explain those in a little bit there. So you'll see the subject at the top, the radial dials, what curriculum area they're working in, a list of goals. These ones are the ones they're working on. And then if you want to see anything that they've recently completed, then you can click on that and it will bring up the list. These little eyes are like an opportunity to add exemplars or a little bit more detail about what a goal actually means. That's going to take us a little bit of time to populate, but they will be coming. So just a little bit more about our actual goals and how we came up with them. So obviously school, we have our overarching New Zealand curriculum, and then schools are able to take that and create their own local curriculum, so they can look into different models of learning that they want to create their progressions with. So our progressions have been created using a variety of resources, but we've kind of split our goals into different learning areas or goal areas. So for reading, we've got phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, and structure. Phonological awareness is only in year 1 and 2. Year 1 and 2. Yep, and the fluency comes in after year 2, at year 2. Yeah. Writing, we've broken into transcription, which is handwriting and spelling. Again, handwriting as a goal is only for the first year. That doesn't mean that kids won't continue to work on handwriting, but it just won't be a goal focus anymore. And then we have text generation, which is sentence level, paragraph level, and text level. And again, our kids go through that as a progression. So our early years, they'll only be working at sentence level writing, and they move on to paragraph and then into whole text, where they're actually writing full pieces of text based around different genres. Number and algebra, we've split into whole number, rational number, which is your decimals, fractions, percentages, and algebra, which is a range of both patterns, expressions, and equations. Yeah, and then just some of our models of learning. Obviously, we have a refreshed curriculum that's about a 6-year process of rolling it out. They've just finally completed the English and mathematics curriculum. We've had to change our progressions like 3 times because the draft kept changing, and the other curriculums are going to come out over time.
Alright, back to me. I might swap places so I can just have a look at my notes. Thanks, Sarah. So at Nukumea, the teachers or the Kayako use a lot of different ways to find out where your child is at. So it might be observation, it could be a discussion with your child, and them self-assessing against their own learning goals. And then we have also some more formal assessments that we would do. So we are constantly assessing as we go and updating these goals as we go. So twice a year, you will have access to, you won't have access. Twice a year we'll be updating the report page. You'll have access to the report page the whole time. 2 weeks before the end of, so we're going to update the report mid-year and end of year. So 2 weeks before the end of term 2, we're going to be turning off the learning content in order to give teachers a bit of time just to populate that report page, and then we'll turn it back on the last day of term 2, and then again on the last day of term 4. So that's what we call the report page. So on this report page, we have, this is a bit of a general overview, but Sarah will go into more detail. So what you'll find is we have got, we'll have the goals. So we have writing goals, reading goals, and maths goals. You'll also see a graph for reading, writing, and maths. And then there'll be a comment. So we have a literacy comment, so that's a combination of reading and writing. And there'll be a maths comment, and there'll be a general comment. So the literacy and the maths comment is going to be based around attitude, effort, engagement, those sorts of things. And the general comment will be more about school values and student strengths and social skills and things like that. And I've just popped this question down here: what matters to you on your child's report? sort of as we go through, have a wee think about this and maybe think about what you're used to or what's been coming from other schools, what you really like to see, what you think we don't need to see, and because we'd love that feedback at the end, because you know it's really helpful to have as a parent, what do you think about reports? Oh, one more thing I just thought, your child won't be getting a printed report, but you can print it off Hero if you want to. So the chart, as Kate mentioned, this will only get updated twice a year. So it'll be mid-year and end of year. And this is just a chance for you to see their progress against the expectations of the curriculum. So you'll have, there'll be 3 charts, reading, writing and maths. What they will tell you is what the current expectation is for their year level, where they are working, so whether it's within expectation above, etc., and what curriculum area they're actually working at, and this little dot. And obviously over time, those dots will start to connect to each other and you can see a progress path. Obviously as a new school, we have no historical data, so we're sort of starting afresh from now. So over time it will start to look a bit more like you can see the progress path, but when you get the first one at mid-year, there'll just be the one dot. Oh, I just need a piece of paper for this one. Oh, sorry, Sarah. Okay, so as Sarah mentioned, we have just recently had a curriculum refresh, and this is from our new curriculum, and this talks about the curriculum phases. So in the old curriculum, we used to have curriculum levels, and level 1 would sort of relate to the first 2 years at school, level 2 the next 2 years, and level 3 the next 2 years, and so on. And it has changed now, so instead of the levels, we now have curriculum phases. And the phases go for the first 3 years of school as phase 1, and then phase 2 is the second 3 years of primary school. So that's a little bit of different terminology than you might be used to on your previous reports. And so that's a nationwide thing. So we use these terms in our Nukumea curriculum as well. So we have our phases, phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 3 for those students who are working at that level. The curriculum refers to progress steps within each phase. So they have some sort of clear-cut markers of expectations within each of these phases. So we have got a progress step for after 6 months at school, after 1 year at school, after 2 years at school, etc. So what we have done in our Nukumea curriculum and the phases is we refer to phase 1 step 0, which is your first 6 months of school, phase 1 step 1, which is your first year at school, phase 1 step 2 is your second year, phase 1 step 3 is your third year. And then we move into phase 2, so we again go phase 2 step 1, phase 2 step 2, and phase 2 step 3. So that's just what you'll see on all of the
little radial dials.
So that's a little bit of understanding, but it's quite clear in the graph of what the expectation is for the year level as well. So I just thought I might read this to you. The reason they've changed it, this is from the curriculum, I photocopied it, so don't mind me when I read it. It says that these phases are a more natural way of chunking progression, reflecting how schools typically think in terms of broad phases of learning across years at school. More importantly, they reposition the curriculum to focus on progression and growth in learning. The phases recognise that each student is an individual whose learning development and rate of progress is different from others. So that's their reasoning behind this change. Okay, so we have used some expectation language, which you'll see when you get the graph, which is basically beginning, developing, and proficient within a progress step. So if your child is working at phase 1, step 1, we would then like to say they're beginning typically at the start of the year, they're developing mid-year, and they're proficient by the end of the year at achieving a progress step, not a phase, because we said the phase goes across 3 years, but those progress steps that come in between those. And the thing with our goals is that they build upon each other. So in every area, for example, in phonics, it's a systematic
cumulative building blocks one thing to the other. So we've sort of really set it out that way, and you know, as well as the progressions being in Hero, our teachers also have just document versions of the goals so that they can see how one thing leads to the next. So it's really important that our kids are consolidating those foundations and making sure that they have something secure before they move on to that next thing. Otherwise, we're just going to end up with gaps later on. And just like the curriculum said, it's that realisation that not every child is going to progress at the same rate. But as long as we're seeing progress and that they're consolidating those really important foundation skills, that's what's, you know, really important to us.
Okay, so just a little bit more information about more of the terminology that we're going to be using on the graph. And it's a little bit about the key to the colours here. So on the graph here you can see the little black dot is where your child will currently be at, and as Sarah said, over time there'll be more black dots and they'll be joined by a black line, so you can actually see progress as well, because progress to us is obviously really, really, really important. So if the black dot is in this blue line, that is what we say is within their expected phase. If they are in this lighter blue line, then they are above their expected phase, and in the white they are beyond that expected phase. If they are in this yellow area, that is saying that they are working towards the expected phase. And we do differentiate learners who are in this area so that we know what level of support that they need. So some students in here will be working towards with targeted support, and that means they might be getting extra exposure within a small group. And other students will be working towards tailored support, and that's more of an individualised support. So that just helps us to kind of work out what level of support they need.
Alright, so just some sort of public service announcements that we wanted to make today. So as we've already said a couple of times, we are in the middle of a curriculum refresh, and as I said, we have redone our maths goals in particular 3 times, because we'd get a draft, then it would come, you know, then they'd send another draft, it was different again, and we've just got a third one. Hopefully now it's settled because it's not in draft anymore, the English and the mathematics one. But the other curriculum areas are still being refreshed, and they've pushed the timeline a little bit further. So though other curriculum areas we will add to Hero over time. Same with the strand maths, it's just, you know,
we are still teaching it, don't worry.
Yeah. yeah.
We are definitely still teaching it.
But as a new school, so it's actually not a requirement for schools to teach the new curriculum until 2027. It's been pushed out, but there was no point in us starting with the old curriculum and then having to change to the new one when the new one was available, and we can start teaching from it now. So that's what we've done. But it does mean that our goals have changed a few times, and they may still change as we kind of find our feet with this and see what's working and what's not. As I mentioned before, we have no historical data, so there is a little bit of gap filling in terms of filling in things on Hero, but also for teachers, gap filling a little bit with our own progressions that may be different to what the kids have learned at other schools. So they may vary from where they've come from in terms of the goals and expectations. Eventually we would like to get to a point where our students are logging into Hero on their own, picking their goals, uploading the evidence, or saying to the teacher, I think I've got this, I'd like to be able to tick that goal off as achieved, and this is why. So there is the ability with Hero for the students to have their own logins and to be able to see their own learning goals. As I said, our report page at the moment is quite stock standard in terms of what Hero offers, but that again may change as we kind of get your feedback, and as the school grows we may end up changing it. We're always open to feedback. As I said, this is very much a learning curve for all of us, so you know, please let us know if something's not working with Hero. We do have comments open on the student posts, so if you see a post either in the literacy or maths page or in the class learning pages, you guys can leave comments. We have put in some potential sentence starters that you could use. You can also just react with emojis.
This is what our world has come to.
Yeah, it has. Just, you know, thumbs up.
Great job. Alright, do you want me to take some notes, Sarah? Yeah.
So I guess it's just an opportunity, as Kate mentioned before, is there anything else that we may not have mentioned that's gonna be on the report that you feel like would be really cool to see on the report page. Are there anything else that you think you'd like to see in terms of what we're, what's on here, and do you have any questions? I might just have a look. Oh, yeah.